Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon's digital event, Securing the Anywhere Workspace. This event is brought to you by Sandz Solutions Philippines in partnership with VMware and Technopaq. Before we get started, my name is Jelay Fuertes. I'm a sales director from Sandz Solutions Philippines, and I will be acting as your host and moderator for this afternoon. A few house rules before we get started. We have temporarily placed all the participants on mute mode. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them on the chat box or click on the raise hand button so we can call on you to ask your question live after the speaker's presentation. We would also like to inform everyone that this session is being recorded. The pandemic taught organizations the importance of resilience, especially on how employees work. But when the workplace dynamics have shifted to be anywhere and possibly through any device, how do we as members of the IT department keep the end user experience seamless and secure? We have invited experts in this topic to join us this afternoon. First on our list is Mr. Renel Rodriguez. Renel has been with VMware for more than 8 years now. Currently, he is the sales manager for end user computing in VMware. This sees him as the overall business leader and primary point contact for the company's leading EUC solutions. Hello, Renel. Good afternoon to you.
Hi, Jelai. Good afternoon. And of course, good afternoon to everyone.
Okay. Joining Renel is Izin Liu. She manages the commercial accounts in Carbon Black. The Philippine market is no stranger to her, as she spent 2 years as a VMware account manager covering the Philippine accounts. She is now working with customers to harden their security posture and protect their endpoints. Hello, Izin. It's nice seeing you this afternoon.
Hello, and hello everybody on the call today.
Okay, rounding up our roster of experts is our very own Director of Sandz Professional Services Group, Mr. Kendrick Chan. He has a decade-long experience in the industry and has strongly advocated in helping organizations transition in the digital age. Hello, Ken. How are you?
Hi, good afternoon, Jelai. I'm okay. Good afternoon, everyone here on the call.
Okay, I won't keep you guys any longer and hand you off to our very first speaker, Mr. Renel Rodriguez. Go ahead, Renel.
Okay, thank you, Jelai. Let me first share my screen. So I'm sharing my full desktop. Hopefully, everybody can see my screen. I'll also turn on my video so that most of you can actually see me. Am I clear? Rinig naman po.
Yes, Renel, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, so again, good afternoon. So my agenda for this afternoon, probably for the next 20 or 30 minutes, it's all about securing the Anywhere Workspace, supporting the digital workforce. So I guess a lot of you are wondering bakit natin to pinag-uusapan today. So I'm not sure if all of you are experiencing it right now, but because I'm not sure if from what industries are you right now, but technically a big majority of us are basically doing remote work. So in fact, from VMware perspective, we've been doing remote work or work from home for the last 14 months. So simula nung nag-lockdown last March 15, if I'm not mistaken, we've been doing remote work already. In fact, in the Philippines, there's a mandate ever since that there'll be a skeletal workforce or a reduced manpower for a lot of the organization. Of course, set aside na lang natin yung may mga frontliners dyan. But again, I believe everybody can somehow relate to this particular scenario. And in fact, since we've been doing it for quite some time, I don't want to call it the new normal, but I want to rather call it the actual normal. And a lot of the IT organization right now is looking at remote work as not just an alternative or a workaround solution, but they want to treat their employees or their organization as an anywhere organization. In fact, there are a lot of researches and studies wherein these are actually being implemented. So one good research here is coming from a Forrester research, wherein 61% of the employees says that remote work is not just becoming a perk or a workaround alternative for today's pandemic situation. It's actually becoming a prerequisite and somehow something that the organization will adopt moving forward, even after the pandemic. Again, the same research says that, of course, employers should be the one providing all the digital tools and access for every employee so that they can actually adapt to this remote work scenario. And then, of course, last but not the least is that 73% of buyers right now, in fact, when I've discussed or I talk to a lot of organizations, it's becoming a critical priority for them to actually look at for a workforce solution that would somehow scale beyond their alternative or workaround scenario. So what they want to look at right now is an integrated workforce solution. And later I'll be discussing the importance of having an integrated workforce solution. Okay. So as IT supports this distributed work, again, it comes with a lot of challenges. And looking at this diagram, you would probably understand already the different challenges that comes with having a distributed work. So to just summarize it quickly, here are just some of the pain points that a lot of our a lot of you are probably experiencing. And one of the most, I would say the number one challenges of a lot of organizations, especially when they immediately shifted to remote work, is how do I give access? How do I efficiently and effectively give access to specific applications that would be needed by my users? Secondly is, of course, sabihin natin na you've already provided them access through certain workarounds and solutions probably. The second question is, of course, security. How do I protect the data? How do I make sure I enforce compliance from a device perspective, considering that not all employees naman would probably have VPN, not employees would have probably the luxury of having their respective corporate devices, like for example, a laptop. Kasi a big majority of your users are typical admin users wherein they use the traditional desktop pa. So nung nag-uwian, paano na sila ngayon mag-access, di ba? So all of these things, all of these challenges, I could somehow summarize it into three major buckets. Of course, I'll focus on the center wherein that's the highlight of today's agenda. It's all about security. Why? Because when we look at a distributed work, there's already a ton of touch points, not just coming from your application, from the data center to the network, to the attack in the middle, to the endpoints, to the different operating systems, diba? So those are all the things that you will consider as you actually protect this particular distributed work. That's why when we look at the security framework, typically it's very fragmented. Secondly is, of course, the another challenge of IT today is basically their users. They don't want to just provide the users basically a suboptimal experience, di ba? Especially if your users are mostly the revenue generating users, di ba? So as much as possible, you want to provide them the best experience. So understandably, when we entered the pandemic, when I entered the first phase of the lockdown, siguro understandably na again the experience would not be as effective and efficient. But as we are doing this for more than a year already, every organization should have probably adapted already and somehow enhance their experience to their users. And then of course, last but not the least is dito papasok yung integrated solution. How do you now make sure that everything that you've acquired over the last few months probably that would help you address all of this concern would be operationally manageable. So reducing the complexity of managing all of these things. So again, this is from the IT operational side. So these are all, I would say, the key highlights of those challenges when we move to this distributed work. That's where VMware came in with this whole concept of anywhere workspace. As we help organization, as we help those organizations are transitioning to this full concept of anywhere organization, we've actually somehow combined multiple solutions of VMware into achieving this primary goal of helping our customers thrive in this remote work environment. So ano ba yung mga different business units ni VMware that came along together so that we can achieve this primary goal? So again, we have the business unit coming from my side, which is the Workspace ONE portfolio. Of course, later after me, my colleague will be presenting a portion of this whole idea or concept, which is carbon black. And of course, last but not the least is the SASE component, or basically from the network and the edges component. But for the meantime, for my presentation, I'll focus on the workspace platform, and I'll actually highlight two specific or two major solutions that are being adopted by a lot of organizations today as their first step to this anywhere workspace end goal, basically. So ano yung two primary solutions na yon? One is a virtual desktop or a virtual app and a virtual desktop delivery solution. So from VMware perspective, our actual solution is called Horizon. So just to explain further what a virtual app and desktop is, I'd rather use this diagram to somehow explain further what a virtual desktop means. So if you can see on the right-hand side, you can see servers wherein this server runs that particular software, which is the Horizon, and allows you to basically virtualize all of those virtual apps and desktop. So again, this server represents probably your data center or probably a cloud infrastructure for that matter. Again, you have the capability and the option to somehow run this solution on premise or on cloud. On the left-hand side is basically devices. So again, these devices represents the users. Your users can be anywhere, consuming all of these virtual apps and desktop from any device, anytime, anywhere. So again, may it be they're consuming it from a TIC client, a traditional desktop at home, a laptop, a tablet, a mobile device. Again, they'll have the very same experience. So this is from an IT perspective overview. From a user perspective, how does it look like? So once you connect to this particular solution, you'll be presented with different tiles or icons, as you can see here. So on the top, there are actually Windows 10 icons, and at the bottom, you can actually see different specific application icons. Again, this is just a graphical representation, an example, basically. But these are all customizable, and you can actually adjust this accordingly to your organization. So whether you're from a financial organization, a healthcare, an education, a government, again, you can customize it depending on how you want to deliver the requirements of your users. But at the same time, all of this can actually be delivered, whether it's a full desktop or a full application. Okay, so how it works? So as a user, you'll just get any device. You'll probably, of course, log in from a client that's installed on that particular device or probably from a browser. So when you log in from a browser, technically all you need to do is log in through using your Active Directory credential. Why? Because it's so much integrated to your authentication source. You can also incorporate additional security by incorporating MFAs for that matter. Once you're able to log in, you'll be presented with those desktops and applications. And again, these are being consumed respectively over the browser. So you can actually consume all of these things from normal internet securely, basically. So, sino ba yung mga gumagamit ng mga ganitong solution? Again, we addresses different types of use cases. So, from an organization that if your organization are basically or mostly knowledge workers, so be it. But we also support a lot of those customers who are heavy in terms of, like, for example, graphics, video rendering, and so on and so forth. So from knowledge to power user, we will definitely be able to support you. From a vertical perspective, again, we are heavily used from a financial perspective, like for example, from an FSI industry. BPO is also a large user of this solution. Healthcare. In fact, one of the I mean, yung mga mabilis na mag-adapt ng solution right now is basically on the education sector. Why? Because considering that the students right now are all studying from home, especially like, for example, yung mga universities that would need specific applications like an engineering student. So all of those things, they now, the university or the schools needs to deliver all of these virtual laboratories for the students to actually consume and access. So again, education is also a big user of this particular solution. And again, we are very much represented across multiple industries. And of course, use cases. So later, after my entire presentation, I'll actually do a short demo for appreciation, a live one, so that we can all experience how to connect to a virtual desktop or a virtual application. The second solution, again, like I've said earlier, I'll be highlighting two major solutions that customers are adapting nowadays in terms of how they want to actually start their journey with this Anywhere Workspace. The first one is the virtual app and desktop. This is the second one, which is a unified endpoint management. And this is actually powered by Workspace ONE. So again, as the term itself, unified endpoint management means basically you can manage every endpoint. So from your again, not just the mobile devices. It all starts with the whole term of an MDM, wherein it means mobile device management. But again, right now what we're doing is we want to centralize and consolidate tools. That's why they came up with the whole term of a unified endpoint management, wherein we're not just managing mobile devices, but catering also to the PC operating system like Windows 10, Mac operating system, Chrome OS, or if there's actually those non-traditional endpoints, like for example, if you're from the logistics, you have this all rugged devices. Again, all of those are very much supported. So you'll have a unified platform to manage all of these devices. So how does it look like? Again, here's just a sample screenshot. So later I can also run through a quick demo for your appreciation. If you can see on the left-hand side, there's this screenshot wherein it shows there's 2024 devices that's enrolled in this particular dashboard. If we drill down to what comprises that 2024 devices, you can see the different platforms and operating systems, basically from Android to Chrome OS to Apple iOS, Mac OS, and Windows Desktop. You can also see the different breakdown in terms of what version the operating system is. If we drill down further to a certain platform like a Windows desktop, at the bottom screenshot, you can see here all the list of the users that are consuming this particular desktop. And again, when you click down all of this desktop, you can now manage entirely how you want to update what you want to update the device through patching, how you want to do software distribution, controlling the device itself, and all of those things. So all of these are actually done from an endpoint management solution. So why are we even discussing, or why are we even talking about an endpoint management solution, considering probably some of the organization or a lot of the organization today would have a, 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 a legacy tool in terms of how they want to manage a desktop? It's all because of the pandemic, how pandemic changed basically the scenario. So again, previously, a traditional PC lifecycle tool would have the capability of managing your endpoints similar to how I explained it earlier. It's just that a typical tool would see your device from a network, from a corporate network. So now that the users are outside the corporate network and they're basically using not just the corporate, but even BYO devices, how do you now manage and secure all of these things? That's where a unified endpoint management comes in. So again, the current state is typically your laptops, your endpoints would have a direct site to your GPO servers like the Active Directory, to your software distribution point, or even to your WASU servers. So all of these are actually managed within the corporate network, or for if those who are doing a remote work, probably all you need to actually have a VPN solution so that you can actually connect to the network. The whole idea of modern management is basically managing it over the air. So applying policies over the air as you adjust according to your policy, how you distribute application as you continuously innovate within your organization, as you support the digitalization nowadays. So you can actually push all of those application over the air. And then as you maintain all of those compliance within your devices, considering that we've been working home for the last 1 year, and Microsoft is known in terms of delivering critical patches every 6 months, or probably security patches for that matter. Again, you want to make sure that all of these devices are patched accordingly and monitored accordingly to your compliance. So everything is done over the air. That's the whole idea of modern management, and that's where how an endpoint management addresses this whole work from home scenario. So before I do a particular demo, I just want to highlight a quick example or a quick reference on a customer who've adopted our solution during the pandemic. It's actually American Red Cross. So they have adopted or use both of our solution, both Horizon and Workspace ONE, to their workforce. So basically, their challenge is that, as we all know, American Red Cross is more of has a very dynamic workforce. Why? Because mostly they're frontliners, and at the same time they do a lot of mobile mission. In fact, during the pandemic, it's not just the employees that they're supporting, but technically a lot of volunteers as well. So within American Red Cross, they're again managing different types of application, with a mix of legacy and of course the new types of application, whether it's a web-based or a mobile-based application. The challenge there is, how do you now deliver all of this information, this application, this data to your sets of users, to sets of volunteers across United States securely, anytime, anywhere. That's where American Red Cross adopted our solution and created this whole secure virtual workspace, wherein they could just log in anywhere, anytime, from any device, using just an internet access connectivity. So again, that's just a quick glimpse of what we've done with American Red Cross. So let me just proceed with the actual demo. So hopefully you can still see my browser. I guess from the Sandz, please acknowledge lang if you can actually see my
Yeah,
browser.
we can see
Yep.
it.
Thank you. So let me just refresh it. So again, this is a quick example of a virtual desktop and application. So again, if you notice, I just have here a Firefox browser. I've launched in the URL already, wherein I will connect. If you can notice, this is powered by Horizon. It runs on AZ. What does AZ mean? It runs on Azure. So again, this virtual desktop is situated on an Azure infrastructure, or in Azure IaaS. So let me just log in. Oops, let me refresh. Done. So upon logging in, like how I've showcased it earlier, again, I'm presented with different icons or tiles, basically. So at the top, you can see the desktops that I'm provisioned with. Basically, the IT admin provided me with access to this particular desktops, and at the same time, some sample applications. So if I want to actually consume, like for example, if I'm an agent from a BPO industry, or a call center agent, and then I probably need to access a desktop that probably contains all my soft phone and recording stuff. I'll be accessing this Windows 10 machine. Again, I'm launching this Windows 10 machine from a browser, and I can definitely work from there. So this Windows 10 machine is actually running from your selected data center, whether it's on-premise or cloud, and it's all controlled by IT. So whatever policy that you want to apply here, like for example, you cannot copy information from this desktop to your local desktop. Again, all of those things are somehow addressed accordingly to policy. You can even incorporate, like for example, watermarking. For some banks who are actually using this one, you can even record the session itself for privacy and protection of the information within this virtual desktop. Okay. So yeah. So let's just wait for a few seconds. Okay. So while I'm waiting for this one, let me launch another desktop. And this desktop is different to the one I'm launching right now. It's because this desktop, there you can actually see the desktop, but let me launch again another desktop. So I'll highlight what's the difference between the two. So if you can notice, I've logged into another environment. So this is another environment, another URL, another data center. So again, there's two URLs that I'm running here. And if you can see here in this particular desktop, when I log in, I'm just presented with one icon. Why? Because this particular demo is somehow powered by NVIDIA. So again, if the use case is somehow more on the graphic sides, like for example, engineering, AutoCADs, like media organization, 3D rendering, video streamings, again, you would need an infrastructure that supports it, and you will be actually running those desktop that runs on a server that is powered by GPU. So again, I'm accessing another desktop. I'm launching two desktops simultaneously. Oops. Somehow I just got disconnected. But I'm running two desktops basically. One is a desktop that's powered by NVIDIA and another one that's a standard desktop. So again, this is just a quick simulation of how a virtual apps and a virtual desktop actually works. So ano naman yung isa? Yung isa is a unified endpoint management. So let me just share how a unified endpoint management looks like. Okay. So here's your desktop, and then here's the, so while waiting, I'll just showcase the unified endpoint management solution. So let me log in again. Yeah. So let me log into the console of the unified endpoint management. Yeah. So again, from here, you can see kanina yung screenshot ko was 2025 devices enrolled. Now, in this particular demo, there's already 2,358 endpoints that's being managed from this particular dashboard. So again, the breakdown is here. The breakdown of the different versions are all managed from here. If I want to actually select this Windows desktop, I can actually see all of those users. Like for example, this Alex Borodin is using an HP notebook PC. And if I actually click his particular endpoint, then I'll be able to see the policies, the profiles, the apps that's actually installed, and all of those things. So all of the information are actually presented to you from this particular dashboard. So from the model to the serial numbers, again, you can control and manage it all from here. So this is actually what a unified endpoint management does for your organization. Okay. So if you want to actually share or I mean deliver applications, all you need to do is actually upload those applications here and assign it to these particular sets of users and groups. So you can actually create different groups. Like for example, if you're supporting multiple departments, multiple regions, then again, we have, like for example, call centers who are using this particular solution across multiple geos and countries worldwide. So they'll have like APJ, EMEA, US region, all of the countries represented here, so that they can actually manage respectively all those devices. Okay, so that's actually a unified endpoint management. So going back to this particular desktop, so let me just run a particular application. Like for example, if I want to actually stream a video, or probably at the same time while streaming a video, again, I'll probably run AutoCAD for that matter. So again, this virtual desktop will be able to allow me to do all of those things, regardless if my PC can't actually support it. Why? Because all of these things are basically very much being run from the data center itself. Yeah. Okay. So again, I'll go back to my presentation. That basically concludes my presentations and demo. So again, I'll stay until the end of the event. So for those who have any questions, feel free to raise your questions over chat or probably later during the Q&A. So I'll probably hand over again first to Jelly. So thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Renel, for that very informative presentation for us to be fully equipped while working anywhere using any devices. Now we will take a quiz break to give out a few prizes to our participants. Are you guys ready? The mechanics are just simple. We will be asking a total of 2 questions based on what Renel just presented. The first one to submit the letter, just the letter, of the correct answer in the chat box will get a prize from Sandz Solutions Philippines. I will put a marker in the chat box so I can track who answered the correct letter first. So are you ready? Kindly launch your chat box. Okay, for the first question, the prize is at stake is a VMware merchandise. Thank you, VMware. Okay, let's flash the first question. What is the Unified Endpoint Management UEM solution of VMware? A, vSphere. B, Workspace ONE. C, NSX. D, VeloCloud. The right answer is B, Workspace 1. Let me see who got it first. Okay. Congratulations, Mr. Top Payas. You got our first question right. Okay, for the second question, the prize at stake is a gift voucher from Sandz Solutions Philippines. Thank you, Sandz. Let's launch the question number 2. What is the virtual desktop solution of VMware? A, vCenter, B, vSAN, C, Horizon, D, Carbon Black. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, let me check who got it first. Congratulations, Paul Vincent Cetron. You got the correct answer. Okay, congratulations to our winners. Please expect an email or call from our marketing team regarding your prizes. Don't worry, we will have another quiz break later on. Okay, we've covered the aspect of seamless access to your applications. Now, how do we make sure it's secure? So I'll hand you over to Izin to tell us more about it. Go, Izin.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, Izin, we can hear you.
And y'all can see my screen as well, right?
Yes.
All right, I'll just start my video. So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for spending some part of your Friday with us here today. So earlier, Rena actually talked about the MDM solution of VMware, and he also showed you all a demo of the VDI. So now I'm going to focus more on the security aspect of things. And this is just a quick photo to show you how VMware actually view the security industry today. So from our perspective, actually, just 2 years ago, VMware actually spent $1 billion acquiring Carbon Black. And that's because they see there's something that can be improved on from the security industry. And this is how they view it. So they see most of the IT teams, and maybe this is something that you yourself can relate to. The IT teams, they build the infrastructure first, which is in this photo, you can see the building or the bricks of a building. And security comes more like an afterthought. So what happens is that security are usually bolted on, and it's not integrated within the infrastructure itself. And this creates a very complex environment for different IT teams to navigate with. So instead of having a bolted on security, how VMware envision our customers' security environment to be like this. So this is a smart home, and taking the idea of that, what VMware and the vision is to have intrinsic security, meaning that security is built into your infrastructure from the day where you actually start your IT operations, and it doesn't come as an afterthought, and it's not bolted on, and everything is built in, and security is intrinsic to the whole infrastructure. So these are the 3 biggest obstacles that we see are facing security today. First, when earlier you saw the photo where there are the bricks of the building, and then you just add all different CCTV, you add all the different wiring and the pipe and everything. And this is kind of an analogy for the IT security tools that a lot of organizations are using today. So what happens is that all these IT security tools are all working in silos, and this is actually hindering collaboration between different teams. So maybe the InfoSec team is using a particular tool, maybe the DevOps team is using another security tool, maybe the IT infrastructure team is using another security tool as well. So it's very difficult for different IT teams and different IT BUs within the same organization to collaborate. And this becomes particularly important, especially in, for example, in the case where there is a breach, right? You need a team to work together to also have a single source of truth. But this is not possible when you have many different siloed IT security tools. Another issue that we see today in the security landscape is that a lot of times the security tools that our customers are using, it lacks certain context. For example, maybe what the InfoSec team sees as something suspicious or an alert, it could just be something that the DevOps team is doing. So without the context around the different threats or the different threat alerts in the organization, it's actually very difficult for the IT security team or any part of the IT organization to fully protect their own environment. And lastly, like what I mentioned earlier, since most of the security tools are actually bolted on, having more like an afterthought than being intrinsic to the whole IT environment or the IT infrastructure, different teams are using many different consoles. And for different IT security tools, for depending on which security tool you use, usually you have to set it up properly, and you have to configure the policies. And when you have too many tools, too many consoles, it can lead to control misconfiguration or misalignment between the different security tools that organizations are using in their environment. So this is VMware view it differently, and these are the 5 main control points that we see in an organization regarding security. So you have the workload, you have the endpoint, you have identity, network, and cloud. So first, the InfoSec team is to make sure that the endpoints are secured and attacks are not happening at the endpoint. Then we have the desktop team, which is what Renelle has briefly talked about earlier, to make sure that the right users are able to get the right resources, and you're actually authenticating the users and not like making sure that like they're only getting the access that they need, and also making sure that the right users are using the right devices. And you also have the networking team, which is to make sure that the traffic between your whole system is secure without slowing down your whole system. And I'm not so sure like what are the environments that like the people on the call today are using. Probably, I guess more often than not, you're using like a hybrid environment, maybe a bit of your on-prem data center, and at the same time having some workloads on public cloud, because that is the trend now. So we also like see that the cloud team have to harden your public cloud environment to make sure that your cloud workloads are not easy attack targets. Last but not least, I'm not so sure whether your organization have a DevOps teams, but now it's also increasingly important for different organizations to build, manage, and run their own applications. So despite the transient nature of the workloads and the applications that the DevOps team is managing, you have to make sure that it's secure every step of the way. What you see is like the IT team, across the IT team, many different tools are being used for these 5 different control points. And even in one of our customers, we see that like 75 different tools are being used. So you can imagine like how like siloed some of these security tools are, and how difficult it is to manage all these different tools. So this is VMware's vision. I mean, just quickly share with you, our vision is to allow organizations to run on any cloud, be it a hybrid cloud, like having on-prem and public cloud, or having like a pure on-premise or pure cloud infrastructure to run any application, be it your legacy app, be it your cloud-native application, or even your SaaS offering across any devices. Like it can be your corporate-owned devices, or it can be your employees' own devices that they are using, especially now with work from home becoming a norm. So what we want to do is to insert security into every part of our VMware vision. So back to the 5 control points that I spoke to you all about earlier. Like how we see is like for security to be part of all these 5 control points and be part of your IT foundation. So across these 5 areas, these are the different tools that or different solutions that VMware has. Like what Renelle shared earlier is like the VMware Workspace 1, where you have like UEM, Unified Endpoint Management. For the networking side, we have VMware NSX. For the DevOps, we have VMware Tanzu. And we have for our classic vSphere. And for the InfoSec team, we have VMware Carbon Black. So what we did after VMware acquired Carbon Black is to take the source code of Carbon Black and insert it into every part of offering that VMware is offering at the moment. So this really creates like intrinsic security, and instead of having like the bolted on security that we discussed about at the start of my presentation. And we also noticed two trends, which is why security has become even much more important. So this is on the left hand side of the slide, you see that this is what it was like before. Probably your employees come to your office and they use their own the desktop that is within your own corporate network, and everything can be contained within your own corporate network, and you can secure your network that way. But today, everything has changed. Like Rena said, it's no longer the new normal. It's kind of normal, right? I think probably some of you are also attending this webinar from your own home. Everyone's working from home now. And because of that, your security parameter has changed. It's no longer within your own corporate compound, but actually what we believe is the new security parameter are the endpoints, because all your business data and your business applications are running on those endpoints that your employees are using. That's why it becomes even more important for you to secure all these different endpoints and for you to manage as well, like what Renel has shared earlier. The second trend that we see is a shift to cloud. So probably like y'all will put your business critical data on the cloud, but more and more companies, they are using cloud-based SaaS offerings. For example, maybe your Office 365 or Salesforce, even like some of the cloud-based Oracle offering, etc. So this session, like how your security parameter has changed. And if you look at the breaches that have happened in the last few months, most of them are actually happening at the endpoints, which is why it's very, very important today for you to secure your endpoints. So back to the three problem statements that VMware sees. What we want to do is to provide a unified security, which is context-centric and is also built into every technology that you're using in your organization. So over here, I'll just quickly share with you like the different Carbon Black capabilities that we have. I mean, when people think about security, I think the first thing that comes to mind is something like an antivirus where you actually block attacks. So we actually see three different areas for security from the Carbon Black lens. First is to prevent attacks. Let me just try to use my mouse. The prevent attack, like this, the blue color part on the left-hand side. And also identifying risk is a key part of managing security as well. Because if you're not able to have visibility across your whole security posture, it's also difficult for you to have a good defense. And lastly, to be able to detect and respond to threat effectively. So under prevention, we have next-gen antivirus, which is an improved version of the traditional AV that you all might be using. And this allow you to block advanced attack like ransomware, flawless attack, or even zero-day attacks, which are attacks that I've never seen before. The second one that we have is audit and remediation. This is a live query tool, and you can think of it like a Google search across all your endpoints. So you can query for more than 1,500 different artifacts. We have EDR as well, which is endpoint detection and response. So this is like a endpoint monitoring tool, and this is normally used for threat hunting and incident response. We have managed detection. This is a 24/7 service where we have a team of security professionals that look through your alerts, and it's a service complementary to our NGAV. We have cloud workload protection as well, which is a vulnerability assessment for your vSphere-based workloads. And recently, just this year, we actually launched our container security. So all these are actually delivered on our cloud platform. So you can have one single agent, one single console to manage all these different security capabilities. But for maybe some people on the call today, they are not so open to cloud. We have all this on-premise solution as well. App control, which is a whitelisting tool, and we have EDR for on-premise. So this is just a quick like one sentence about the different capabilities that we have today under Carbon Black. And I'll share with you a bundle that we have today with our workspace, One team, and we call it the Workspace Security Bundle. So we actually bundled the MDM solution of Workspace One with some of the Carbon Black capabilities, like the next-gen antivirus to block advanced attacks. Instead of like, the traditional AV, they actually block attacks based on signature or file-based, but NGAV takes on a much more behavioral approach. So it's much more successful in blocking advanced attacks, especially unknown attacks. And it comes with behavioral EDR as well, which helps you to monitor the different endpoint activities that you have across all the different endpoints that you are managing. We have audit and remediation, which is a live query tool that I mentioned here about. And this allows you to gain like visibility across all your endpoints. And it makes a lot of sense, right? Like for your team that's like managing the endpoint to also secure all these different endpoints from one single dashboard. And because it's integrated together, Workspace ONE and Carbon Black, the user experience can be drastically improved because everything will be automated. Also, once when you use like NGAV of Carbon Black, you're actually tapping onto some of the professional threat hunters that we have. So you are also kept up to date about like the latest threat to make sure that your endpoints are fully secure, even up against like the newest threats or the latest attacks that is seen across the world. And by consolidating everything from endpoint management to your endpoint security, it actually enables your team to have like data-driven decision. So this is the workspace security bundle. And like the last thing that I will touch on is VDI, which is the demo that Rania has showed you all earlier. This is very interesting because across all the different EUC offering, the VDI offering is the one that so far is most integrated with Carbon Black. And why do I say so? It's because there are two main benefits that you get if you use our workspace one like VDI, which is Horizon, which like some of you have answered correctly in the quiz earlier. And if you use this VDI, there are two benefits that you get when you secure them with Carbon Black. First is cloning. So one of the, like no matter what, no matter what is the purpose you use your VDI for, usually you have to have AV for it. And because after VMware acquired Carbon Black, there's a lot of R&D that went in, and everything between Carbon Black and Horizon is totally automated. And for example, in this case, for the antivirus for your AV, for your VDI, you no longer have to like install manually in every desktop, which is something that you might have to do with other AV vendors. Instead, with Carbon Black and Horizon, there's just like a master server, and every time your VDI is launched, it actually makes a copy from that master image, and it actually clones the antivirus. So in some ways, it's considered agentless. The whole deployment is automatic. The second thing that you get to enjoy is the utilization. So for Horizon VDI, it integrates really well with Carbon Black, and compared to other AV, we actually take 80% less resources. And this is something that is like very important for your virtual desktops, right? Because your virtual desktop resources are very, very precious. So the R&D team has done a really great job integrating Horizon with Carbon Black, and they totally optimize the performance. So compared to other AV vendors, which when they secure your VDI, they use about like 15 to 20% of your CPU. But with Carbon Black, they only use like 4 to 5% of their CPU for VDI. So from this, you can see like it's really like lower the total cost of ownership, and even for the performance for your employees when they're using the VDI, they get to have a much better performance. So that is one of the benefits of securing your VDI with Carbon Black. And now I will pass my time on to let me see. Angela.
Yeah, thank you, Isin, for walking us through on how to further protect our systems wherever we access it from whatever devices. Okay, are you guys ready for another quiz break? We're giving out another round of prizes to our participants. Again, the mechanics are simple. We will be asking a total of 2 questions based on what Izin just presented. The first one to submit the correct letter of the correct answer in the chat box will get a prize. I will put a marker in the chat box so I can track who answered the correct letter first. For the first question, the prize at stake is a gift voucher from Sandz Solutions. Let me put okay, Q1. Okay, first question, please. What's VMware security vision? A, intrinsic security. B, silo security. C, security as a service. The correct answer is... Okay. A, intrinsic security. Who got it first? A. Okay, congratulations, Mr. Jade Minoza or Minosa. Okay, for our question number 2, the prize at stake is a Technopaq merchandise. Thank you so much, Technopaq. Okay, which of the following is a carbon black offering? A, firewall. B, next gen antivirus. C, website blocking. The correct answer is B, next gen antivirus. Who got it right? Congratulations, Mr. Leslie Javier. Okay, congratulations to our winners. Please expect an email or call from our marketing team regarding your prizes. Now that we have heard how we can establish and secure to anywhere workplace from our technology partner, you might be wondering what role Sandz Philippines play in this. To discuss this further and very quickly, I will now hand you over to our director for PSG, Mr. Ken Chan. Ken?
Thank you, Jelai. Yeah, let me just open my slides. Okay. Yeah. View. All right, so everyone can see my screen. Wait, I think I have to turn on my video.
Yes, we can
Right.
see it, Ken. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you from the folks from VMware for that presentation and demo. So going back to what Jel has mentioned, what does Sandz play in this role? No? So we took into consideration different layers of security, from network, from your traditional infrastructure security, etc., etc. And then of course going pattern out to what Renel and Yishin has explained. Within Sandz, we believe that in order to have a perfect security concepts, we have to be able to attack it where the threats and where the consumers are actually attacking it the most, which is our users. So we believe here in Sandz and together with VMware is that if you control the endpoints, you control the user access in terms of the permissions, the roles, the logins, the passwords, we'll have a more refined security protocols kasi regardless of how mature our security landscape will be, whether we have the most intrinsic firewalls, any next-gen EVs, any intrusion detections, if we actually just give away our passwords or we give away how we access certain protocols, then it's pretty much useless now. Given to the context of the example of Ishin a while ago in a house, even though I have CCTV cameras, I have access controls, if I give out my key, or if I lose my key and binigay ko yung susi sa ibang tao, I can still go inside the house and steal anything within that house, right? So the same concept we have, protecting the users, protecting that the way users are accessing, protecting the permissions, identifying their access and their behaviors actually comes up to a whole intrinsic level of security. So Sandz believes in that visions wherein our landscape actually falls around that space now. Of course, from your data protection, wherein we can actually safeguard your whole enterprise by having a last line of protection, not only to your enterprise service, but also to your endpoints by providing with that recovery, any event that your endpoints have, threats already, na-hack na siya, na-ransomware na siya, so we can actually, recover that to the point that there's no actual virus or malwares within that endpoint. Second, to join and to just highlight again, protecting the anywhere workspace, especially in this time and age we're in, we're actually working from anywhere. So we also believe in Sandz na hindi na ito yung new normal. This is going to be the de facto normal working habits or working paradigms after the pandemic also. So ma-highlight kasi working anywhere, working from home, in the office, or even in the beach, or even while working out, we have to make sure that our users and our workforce and our endpoint devices actually secured and protected. Taking it up a notch from how Renel and Yishin has presented, we wanted to make sure that we don't only tackle a certain level of user sets, not only those accessing from their homes or from the benefits of working anywhere, but also protecting yung users natin who are actually harnessing or host critical information or privileged access. So ito yung mga administrators natin, these are our database admins, network admins, or those who are actually accessing critical servers, doing maintenance or doing patchwork or doing admin tasks now. So we make sure that we give them refined user access controls. We give them a secured way to access the servers and the infrastructure within the confines of your in your data center, even the cloud, and actually managing privileged identities altogether. So encapsulating all of those, no, to just complete the whole security landscape, we do offer 360 search, detect, and monitor by offering our SOC services. So we're not only tackling yung user sets, we're also trying to understand the behaviors of how our users are accessing, how our threats are actually happening, and where actually the threats are actually coming in. No, so to complete that whole picture, again, we can recover your data, we can protect your workspace, we can protect your privileged users, and of course, having the 360 view to monitor all of your infrastructure and all of your network utilization, so to speak. Okay, now Sandz professional services falls under three main areas. So we really patterned out and really divulge to make sure that we actually give the best of our capabilities to giving future-proof technology, flexible solutions, and all of these platforms that you're actually hearing today. No, we handpick this to complement all of our stacks. So hindi namin to kinuha because ito yung uso today or ito yung de facto that we need to be able to do. No, we handpick these technologies to be able to complement the message that Sandz wants to bring to the table. Aside from the technology, we want to be able to highlight that we actually do everything through our expert services. So we have flexible deployment services. We can do your standard engagement models. We can do service models or managed services as well. We do proactive support, and everything else is patterned out by SLA. So what matters to us is we revert back to customers. We make sure we deliver and based on their expectations and maintain their core systems at its peak. And of course, the people who are managing the technology and providing your services are actually trained and certified engineers. And we have a complete set of specialists, not only on an infrastructure, not only in data protection, but end-to-end yan until the application, so that we actually have different subject matter experts who can actually elevate our services in the technology standpoint. And of course, you have direct access to our resources, meaning at any point of the engagement, you need to be able to communicate to the sales, to the account management, or even to marketing or the technical people. You have direct access to those 24 by 7, 365. Okay, so if you want to hear more about our services standpoint, please feel free to reach out to our marketing and our ISRs, and of course to our sales. And by that, that ends my presentation. Thank you for your time and for joining us to the event today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ken. As we say, all solutions are really very good. But the question is, who are with you in this journey? So that's the value add that we from Sandz Solutions can provide you, our dear customers. Okay, we have one final quiz break before we head on to our question and answer portion. So if you are ready, let me remind you of the mechanics again for this round. I will be asking one question based on the presentation of Ken. The first one to submit the correct answer in the chat box will get the prize from Sandz Solutions Philippines. I will again put a marker. Okay. Here it is. Okay. The price at stake is a Sandz merchandise. Let us see the first question. Sandz prides itself with managed services that is composed of three key factors, which are A, technology, service, and people. B, technology, service, and partners. The correct answer is A, technology, service, and people. So the first one to get it right is, again, Mr. Jade Menyosa. Congratulations, Mr. Jade Menyosa. Okay, congratulations to all our winners. Please expect an email or call from our marketing team regarding your prizes. We will now open the floor to our participants for any questions you may have, though we have received some private questions that we have raised, that some of you guys have raised. So please feel free to add to those questions. I think for all our speakers, the first question, if I have an existing workspace one, what do I need to achieve VMware Anywhere Workspace? I think this is for Renel.
Okay, so good afternoon. So I'm actually curious who that customer is. uh, but again, first thing, Workspace One kasi addresses multiple use cases. So again, a lot of our customers who have used Workspace One, for example, probably started with the mobile devices, then probably scaled or adopted the management of the desktops and laptops like yung mga Win 10 and Mac. Along the way, they would incorporate within Workspace ONE pa rin, they would incorporate a unified app catalog wherein they publish sets of application. And from that unified app catalog, papasok na rin yung mga single sign-on capabilities and VPN capabilities of Workspace ONE. Again, if you look at just as a workspace solution, it already encompasses a lot of things from your mobile to desktop to the user access, like how Ken explained it earlier. But beyond Workspace ONE, that's where different solution comes in. Again, that's where different priorities of organization comes in. So I've also seen, like, for example, customers adopted Workspace ONE but never adopted VDI because technically from their perspective, from their organization, VDI is not something that they would leverage for their users. A lot of again, I would say it would really depend on the use cases of your users. But a lot of the customers who are using VDI today is because typically organization would have a lot of client server architecture application wherein they want to simulate the application running the application running on the desktop side by side with the data center or with your data center application. So from there, Workspace ONE to Horizon, it may be up to the use case. Adopting to Carbon Black as you actually probably move from a legacy antivirus to a next-gen antivirus na hindi na siya yung threat base. And then of course, protecting the edge. So again, like since a lot of the organization or a lot of us are supporting remote work, so what if they call it a hairpinning concept wherein ako as a user, bakit pa ako babalik yung traffic ko going to the data center? What if I actually adopt a Velo Cloud or an SD-WAN solution wherein all of this traffic can be somehow split to go to the cloud, and then some of the traffic will split go to the data center. So again, all of those things will somehow be part and parcel of the whole anywhere workspace solution or concept. So again, it will be a long journey for a lot of organization, and I guess you've already on a good start when you mentioned you're using Workspace ONE today. Yun lang.
Okay, thank you, Renel. We have another question. How does VMware Anywhere Workspace help provide security for remote employees?
Probably I'll add to that, and then of course Isin can further comment on or add to what I'll share. So again, security. If you look at security, there's a lot of aspects to consider. So like what I've shared earlier during the presentation, if you actually pitch or look at a solution or a point solution, then typically your approach will be fragmented. How we've shared the whole idea of remote workforce, it's very distributed. So coming from the device, coming from the user access, coming from the authentication itself, yung social, like for example, username and password, multi-factor authentication, attack in the middle, data center security. Again, all of those things should be addressed accordingly. That's why from VMware perspective, it's not just one solution. It's a culmination, it's a combination of different platforms coming from the data center to the edge, to the network, to the endpoints, to the users, to and authentication sources. So again, I would say yan yung somehow that's the whole idea of the Anywhere Workspace. Kaya nagsama-sama yung different business unit of VMware to achieve that goal.
Okay, Renel, another question from Mr. Jade Menyosa. How do you secure enterprise data located or hosted in multiple AWS cloud services like EC2, RDS, containers, etc., and also secure or monitor hybrid network traffic?
So I guess I'll hand that over to Yisin.
Yeah, so for this, for all the workloads that are posted on the public cloud, like AWS, that like Jade mentioned, you can actually look at the workload security offering from Carbon Black. So for that, it's not really an integrated solution with UC with Workspace ONE, but it's a pure workload security solution. And regarding the second part of the question, actually regarding monitoring and securing the network traffic, like I mentioned just now, the 5 different secure points, we have VMware NSX for that. So it is a solution that you can consider, or you can reach out to like any of the sales rep of VMware to find out more.
Okay, thank you. Another question. How do you build zero trust security with VMware Anywhere Workspace?
Yishin, you want to answer that?
Yeah, actually, that is also part of the UC
Yep.
solution, right? Like the zero trust
Yep.
approach that we have.
So yep. So like what Yishin highlighted, or of course Ken highlighted earlier, again, it's a combination of different things. So zero trust is not just a solution that you will buy and then deploy, and then all of a sudden your security is zero trust already. So again, it will a lot of things needs to be considered, from the data center to the network to the endpoints to the user and so on and so forth. So that's the whole concept naman of zero trust. And again, if you would address it, the best way to address it is to have an integrated approach to that, to address zero trust security, rather than a patch approach or a standalone approach for zero trust security.
Okay, for the last question that we have, with regards to VMware SASE, will it give your endpoint users or remote users an added layer of security?
Okay, so good question. Though both Yisin and I are not the subject matter experts for SASE, but I definitely believe that yes, because definitely within SASE there's the whole idea of securing the edge. There's also the whole idea of, like, for example, additional protection from the web. But again, feel free to actually approach our specific subject matters with regards to SASE. So probably we can get back to you on that particular aspect.
Yeah,
It's just
because
unfortunate that both Yisin and I are not the subject matter expert for SASE.
It's
yeah,
okay.
because
Maybe we can get back to them on this one.
Yep.
yeah, so the SASE part will focus more on the networking side of things. For example, our SD-WAN solution, Velo Cloud, our NSX firewall, etc. But today's because today's session is more on workspace security, where Rena and I are specializing in. So yeah, maybe the SASE part is better for our network specialists to reply or answer questions on that.
Okay, one last question from Mr. Leslie Javier. How does Carbon Black stand out among the other antivirus? Is it cost effective?
Yeah, so one of the main thing about, bringing it back to the topic today, one of the main difference between Carbon Black versus other security vendor is that we are totally integrated with the VMware ecosystem. For example, you see the integration that we have with the VDI, or if you can see like the integration that we have, we didn't mention it today, but the integration that we have with vSphere, it makes everything very agentless. And because of that, you get to see some benefits, right? For example, the endpoint performance or that. So this integration with your whole infrastructure, with your the whole technology, like ecosystem that you're using, this vision of intrinsic security is what sets Carbon Black apart from any other security vendor in the world today.
Is this subscription based, Isin?
Yeah, so it's subscription based. Depending on which solution you're looking at, it can go by per endpoint. Or per CPU is subscription based. You have like a 1-year option, 3-year option, 5-year options.
Okay. So that's it for our question and answer portion. Thank you so much, everyone. For those who have still more questions, our marketing team will reach out to you. We may be scheduling a detailed presentation for you to fully understand more our solutions portfolio that was discussed this afternoon. Okay, so last announcement before we close the session, we will be sending a post-event feedback form after this. Please don't forget to answer it in order for you to stand a chance to win gift vouchers from Sandz Solutions Philippines. Alternatively, you can scan the QR code showing on the screen now to access the feedback form. Come on, take out your phones and take a screenshot of the QR code. Okay. And that's it for this afternoon session. Thank you once again to our featured speakers, Renel, Isin, and Ken. And also thank you and a great pleasure having you all, our dear participants today. See you on our next event. Have a great weekend, everyone. Be safe and God bless. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.